What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This is season 5, episode, I don't know, but part 2 of the reunion, okay? And let's just say this better be the last season they have Angie versus Meredith, because I'm tired of both of them. I'm so sick of both of them. And Bronwyn continues to backpedal and lie. So let's get into it. Sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy just a little bit. And I just got a few things I want to talk to y'all about. So first up, let's talk about Mary. So Mary was on Watch What Happens Live right after part 2 of the reunion, and she was alongside a comedian by the name of Chloe, I think it's Feynman. Chloe Feynman. Now, the only reason why I bring up Chloe is because Chloe was very vocal with how she felt about Bronwyn. So the first clip I'm gonna play for you guys is Andy asking Mary, so how do you feel about the whole jewelry situation drama where she says she bought the necklace, but then on Watch What Happens Live, she says she didn't buy it. So let me play that clip for you guys.
You make of Bronwyn's story about the necklace? Because on the show she said she didn't buy the necklace, but she did buy some earrings, and then on Watch What Happens Live she said she didn't buy anything.
She didn't buy anything on what?
She lied.
She said on Watch What Happens Live, "Oh no, I didn't buy anything."
Yeah. She lied.
She lied.
She lied.
Fake, 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 fake.
Chloe said, girl, fake, fake, fake. And Mary was like, yeah. And then you have Mary just blatantly saying, girl, she lied. Like it was a lie. She lied. That's just what it is. Let's move on. And I said, ooh, okay. So then the next clip I want to play for you guys is a viewer's calling in. A viewer called in and asked Mary, do you see Bronwyn and Lisa ever getting to a good place? And I feel like Mary's response was very telling to me. So let me play that clip for you guys.
Do you think that Lisa and Bronwyn would ever be able to get back to a good place after Lisa doubled down on her after-show comments about Bronwyn's pregnancy at the reunion?
That's a loaded question. I feel like that if Lisa can just back up a little bit on doubling down on Bronwyn and just let like the world see Bronwyn for who Bronwyn is. I feel like her overshadowing, trying to prove that she's this and she's that is a problem. But if Lisa could back up, I think they could probably let things clear up and people can see Bronwyn for who Bronwyn is and people can see Lisa who Lisa is.
So what I took from that clip is Mary does not feel the same way about Bronwyn the way she did at the reunion now. Okay, because I feel like, how do you go from saying like she's a fan favorite at the reunion to when you get on Watch What Happens Live, you can't even say that you think Lisa was wrong, even though a lot of people think Lisa was wrong for the whole back and forth about Gwen's grandparents thing with Bronwyn, which leads me to believe that Mary either seen something in Bronwyn that like now her antennas is up where she's like, something about her may not be right. Because I feel like I've seen Mary take people to task when she feels like they're wrong. We know Mary is not afraid of nobody on this show. So I definitely feel like if she thought Lisa was wrong, she would have just flat out said, Lisa is wrong. But she didn't say that. And then on top of that, to say that if Lisa would pull back, which means stop spazzing out on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram and being in people's comments, Lisa. Let people feel how they want to feel about you. Continue to be you and show up on this show the same way. Then eventually people would see Bronwyn for who she is. And I believe so. I think Bronwyn is smart. She's pretty. She has the personality and she has the wealth. So a lot of people want her to take Lisa down because they don't understand how someone they view as being mediocre has everybody except a few people on this cast like in a tizzy. And they want to be friends with her and they want to be a part of the Lisa Barlow's like fan club. And they don't get why Bronwyn, who Bronwyn is bending the knee to this lady. I get why she's doing it. But they don't get why she's doing that, okay? And they want her to take her down. But it's like, because people want Lisa to be taken down, it's not like they're actually like recognizing traits in Bronwyn that if anybody else on this cast were to have, y'all would call them out. Like, we've seen this lady lie, backpedal multiple times. We've seen her throwing people under the bus. We also know that she has a spirit of a people pleaser, and y'all don't want to clock it because y'all want that lady to take her down because you don't like Lisa. That's it. That's all. But I do think it's telling that Mary is starting to see Bronwyn the same way. So moving on, let's talk about Lisa. So Lisa did an interview with the Daily Mail, and I guess they asked her who she didn't want to brought back. This was posted by Jay's reality blog. If I can find the link to the article, I'll link it in the description box below. But it says this: when asked who she would have asked back on RHOSLC, Lisa Barlow says Whitney Rose via Daily Mail. She goes on to say, I mean, I wouldn't have asked Whitney back last season or this season. I mean, she's another one that had that her storyline this year was a lie, a lie, a lie. Like, I did not give a shit about your business. I've always had a soft spot for Whitney just because she's always been the youngest on the cast, and I think we always felt bad for it. But it gets old with the lies. And when you're lying about somebody, you're perpetuating lies and saying that that's their behavior. Well, Whitney should look at her behavior. And I would agree with Lisa. That's why I can't get behind Whitney. For several seasons, we've seen Lisa lie on somebody and not have proof of it and then have to walk it back at the reunion. And the same thing happened on this reunion. You came to the reunion without proof. You should have had proof that what Up and Adam said on that phone was actually true. You should have gave Lisa the IP addresses, if she was really going to use her cybersecurity to find things out. But it's like, you came to the reunion giving us this like a roundabout story about like you posting stock photos, even though the stock photos were exactly what was on Alibaba. Like, Whitney be lying. And it's tiring. And I definitely hope, because I feel like everyone's going to be asked back next season, which I'm cool with. But I want her to come with something more than another lie. Like, girl, if you're going to bring a rumor to camera or bring some tea, I want to see the receipts that season. That's it. That is all. Let's move over to the review. This episode. So before we get into it, I'm just going to talk a little bit about episode part 1, because there was this narrative going around about pretty much Todd slut shaming Lisa. And I was like, I do not remember seeing that on part 1. Well, if you have Peacock, there was an extended, because you know it's an extended and uncut versions on Peacock. There was a segment before the guys got on stage. We saw the ladies go back to their dressing rooms and their husbands were waiting for them. So we see Angie and Whitney have a conversation where Angie is like, Lisa seems very emotional. And Whitney's like, I don't know why. And Angie's like, it's probably because she has issues with me, you, and Bronwyn. So then Whitney was like, I need Lisa to understand that, like, you know, what's that Taylor Swift lyric? Like, she's the problem. Like, when is she going to say I'm the problem? So we also see Heather in her dressing room where she's basically like, I'm over Bronwyn in this whole, like, I'm trying to be cool and get cool points for the people on Twitter. Like, I see her for what she doing. And then we see Lisa in her dressing room crying to John, basically being like, I thought I was being a good friend to Bronwyn. And I go back and watch the season, and the whole entire season, she had a constant issue with me. Like, this is crazy. And then you see Bronwyn going to Todd, basically like running like a parent, like running to her daddy, being like, I'm gonna need your help out there. I'm gonna need your help out there because Lisa. And Todd basically ends up telling Bronwyn, no, I think you got it. And then he makes this comment, and I'll play the clip for you guys, that had the internet kind of going up for him, where he basically suggests that Lisa is a social climber. Bronwyn agrees, and that pretty much like the only reason why she like to be around them is because she ain't have to do nothing for like them. Basically insinuating that she really do be doing blows for like basketball tickets, for jazz tickets. And so I said,
no, I was a social climb. When she wanted to come to our jazz suite, when she wanted to come to a party of mine. Yeah.
Of course.
I know. I'm clear now.
Because she can come to our jazz suite and not have to do anything for it, so to speak.
Wow, Todd, like you that mad at Lisa? That mad at Lisa, but you got gagged in this episode because your wife didn't tell you everything. So I feel like that's why Todd had that kind of energy on stage, because I was like, you are really going kind of heavy on Lisa. And I don't understand why neither Todd or Bronwyn are mad with production, because ultimately to me, it's production's fault. Like, should Lisa have told the story again on the after show? No, probably not. Like, this whole entire situation, Lisa should have took a step back and not even tried to get involved. But to have all this anger and venom for Lisa is weird to me. And it feels like they're this angry with Lisa because she's an extension of the family, even though that's Lisa's fault for making herself that, you know? So the episode officially opens up where the husbands are on stage and you see Lisa and Ty going back and forth. Ty basically is chastising Lisa, saying that for you to insinuate that Bronwyn had a miscarriage is completely out of line. And so Lisa's like, Todd, I didn't do that. And then she's trying to get Todd to understand her side. So then John ends up telling Ty, yo, check your tone when you speaking to my wife. And Ty basically said, I'm not going to check my tone, and check your tone when you speaking to me. So then things kind of get a little lifted for a minute, and then Andy kind of calms it down. So then Lisa again tries to explain to Todd her side of the story. She's like, Todd, I did not do that. And like, I understand what you're saying, but I understand your feelings, but I didn't do that. And so then Bronwyn cuts Lisa off and then trying to be like, well, Lisa, for you to bring this conversation to camera and you knew what you were doing because you've been on TV for a while, Lisa ends up telling Bronwyn, girl, don't speak to me because I already apologized to you and I know what you're trying to do, and it's not going to work over here. Because my thing about it is Bronwyn has yet to say, Lisa, you knew I didn't want that story on camera because I told you. She just keeps saying, well, Lisa, you've been on TV for a long time, so you know how the story would go. So you didn't tell her. So why are you mad at this person that you didn't tell and not at production who took that out of the actual episode but let it play on the after show? Your beef is with production at this point. It's not with Lisa. Like, that's the part that I don't understand. Like, do I think Lisa should have kept telling the story? No. And like I just said, if I was Lisa, I wouldn't want no parts of this family drama because it seems chaotic and messy. And like, I wouldn't want to be associated with any of this. But it's just like Bronwyn has this hard on for like trying to force Lisa to see her point of view. And that's weird to me when y'all were only social friends for 4 years. Off of that segment, and we move over to Angie, where Andy ends up asking Angie a viewer question where the viewer ends up saying, Angie, why have you never held Whitney accountable for bringing up like the Sean is gay rumors or getting Monica to out the Sean is gay rumors? And so Angie ends up replying to that by saying there was a lot of off-camera conversations that pretty much implicated Meredith being the one that really was the one that spearheaded the Sean is gay rumors. So then Meredith gets really angry because she was like, that was not me, and I don't get why y'all keep trying to put that on me. It was Monica. Monica was the one that brought this up. All right. She was the one that basically said that, like, I didn't say it. But then Angie said, but then she said you did say it. So they start getting angry because next thing you know, you have Lisa, Meredith, and Heather all talking all at once. And I wrote in my notes, shut up. It's too much. Like, they were all talking and I was just like, their voices are all monotone. You got Heather's voice cracking because she lost her voice and it was just too much. That's why, like, sometimes with Andy, like, gets angry and tells everyone to shut up, I don't care because I would be overstimulated after a while. I'd be like, hush now, just be quiet. So then Meredith ends up telling Angie and Sean, like, all the things that y'all accuse me of, you have done to me, where you talked about my business, you talked poorly about my marriage, and you talked poorly about my homes. And Andy was like, what'd they say about my homes? That I rent? And Andy's like, well, don't you rent? Like, don't you? And she's like, yeah, but it's the way that it is said. Like, it's a very negative spin on it. And I know what they mean by that. And it's crazy because everybody in this group knows that I live 6 months out of the year here in Utah. I always thought Meredith was in Utah. So I'm like, does she follow Sean the other 6 months? That was like a revelation to me. So if I was Meredith, I wouldn't even be bothered by those comments about renting if everybody knows that you don't live in Utah like permanently like that. But I said, okay, girl. So they go on the back and forth, and then they move over to everyone just being like, are you serious? So then Sean is like, well, that's what it looked like to me, that you were really talking negatively about like me. Like, that's what it felt like. So then they start talking about the whole, like, Meredith using her son for sympathy and using him being gay and, like, trying to use that instead of, like, taking accountability for her actions in the whole rumor. Mind you, I'm still looking at Angie and Sean kind of weird because I'm like, if you go back and watch that episode of when the rumor about Sean was put out there, Meredith and Monica were talking at the Greek Easter. Monica is trying to, like, pressure Meredith to say something. Meredith will not say it on camera. Like, she is not trying to say it on camera. But then you see Whitney, like, circling like a vulture, listening to their conversation, drinking drinks. And then when Monica is by herself, she pretty much, like, pressures Monica into telling Angie what Meredith said. So it's like, you're really close all of a sudden to Whitney. But if you go back and look at that, Meredith really wasn't trying to say the rumor. It was Whitney. And it was Monica. And I get people are like being like, well, Meredith kind of lit the spark by suggesting that there were rumors out there about Sean. Yeah, they all do that. But if she didn't, to me, if she ain't bring it on camera, you can't be mad at the person that didn't bring it on camera. Like, she never said any of those rumors. It was actually Whitney and Monica. So they get on the whole, like, Brooks gay outings, whatever. And Meredith was like, she expected an apology from Sean before saying that she leveraged Brooks basically to get out of, like, the whole backlash of what was happening last season. And she was like, y'all were trying to, like, really take me out of here. And does anybody know what the word leverage means? With Angie saying, can we just play the tapes? Can we just play the tapes? And Meredith is like, girl, I got one better for you. Pulls out her phone and starts reading the transcripts of what was said on the podcast. And then they actually do play the audio of what Sean said on the podcast. And Andy was like, that's it. That was it. Because I guess Andy was expecting Sean to, like, really drag Meredith, but he really didn't. And Andy also said it feels like those were, like, leading questions from the podcaster. Like, this is how the podcaster pretty much felt about Meredith's actions. Like, I don't think that's what Sean was doing. So Meredith gets upset and she starts really, like, being like, no, he said that I was trying to leverage my son. And so then Andy ends up being like, girl, this is a waste of time. Like, don't you think this is a huge waste of time? And you can tell that Meredith was, like, offended. Like, she was like, oh, okay, Andy, it's a waste of time. Okay, it's a waste of time. So then Andy ends up asking Sean, like, do you think Meredith started the rumors? And Sean's like, honestly, like, at this point, I don't know, because when things were going on, I was in the thick of all of this, the rumors, the accusations, and I did not see the portion about Monica in this story. What I thought is that she was the one spreading the rumors about me and, you know, about me and my family. And pretty much, I don't think Sean was, like, backpedaling, even though I wrote that in my notes. I think he was talking about the situation with more clarity because he got more information. And I honestly wish they would have deaded the conversation right here, because I feel like what Sean said, it pretty much absolved Meredith. Like, he pretty much was like, I didn't see the Monica piece. Like, my bad, bro. But I was in it and I felt like you were a part of it because it was told to us that you said what you said, you know? So then Angie ends up I think Meredith ends up bringing Monica again, where she was like, 6 months ago, Monica basically told me on camera that she did not say it. She told you, Angie, that she did not say it. And then Angie's like, but then she told me you did say it, Meredith. And so they start arguing back and forth. You can tell that everyone's getting exhausted. You hear Heather being like, y'all need to stop letting outside sources cause issues with y'all, especially pertaining to the podcasting situation. You got Bronwyn and Whitney being like, I'm exhausted with this conversation. And so Meredith is getting, like, increasingly more frustrated because she was like, roll them tapes back, because she's like, Monica said on camera, I did not say that. And Angie keeps reiterating, well, on camera, she did tell me you did say it. So then Andy, I guess, got a ping from the people, you know, the production team and staff. Mind you, it's so crazy to me. They have all of those cameras as they're, like, watching the show and editing. It's just, I always think that's super cool that they can watch all of those and get certain angles of people. So Andy ends up saying, well, they're telling me that, correct, that did happen, that Monica did tell Angie that you said it. So then, what's it called? Meredith gets angry. Like, she gets pissed. Like, pissed. Because Heather and Lisa are like, how are we believing Monica? Monica who lies and everything. And so now Meredith is standing up being like, you know what? I'm done with this. Because I was told at the reunion we were going to play all of the tapes. And I'm done with this. I'm done. And then you see Seth get up. She was like, I'm getting angry. You see Mary be like, Meredith, sit down so we can have a conversation. Even Sean was like, and you could tell Sean was uncomfortable, but he wanted to get through this segment, was like, Meredith, sit down so we can resolve this and move on. She's like, no, I'm done. And then you hear Heather being like, I don't think anybody really believes Monica. Then Andy ends up saying, you're arguing about somebody who's not a reliable source. And then you hear Lisa being like, thank you. Amen. She's not a reliable source. So Meredith, sit down. Like, everyone was trying to get Meredith to sit down. And she's like, no, I'm leaving if y'all don't play them tapes. Meredith is ready to walk off the stage with her man in tow, okay? She's like, if you don't play them tapes, I'm out of here, okay? I'm out of here, okay? And I was like, Meredith, you tripping. You tripping. I even put in my notes, I was like, this took too long, but she accomplished what she wanted to accomplish. And I had to give her props for that, even though I felt like she was doing too much, because they end up playing 2 clips. One of Monica telling Angie the rumor and saying that Meredith was the one that told her. The other one is Angie asking Monica, did Meredith like help spread this rumor, or was she the one that started the rumor? And Monica said no. And I wonder if the reason why Meredith did that is because she was pissed that the control room ended up contacting Angie, you know, in his little piece saying the control room is saying that, yes, Monica told Angie on camera that you like spread the rumor, and Meredith really wanted them to play that other clip of her saying that she didn't have any involvement in the rumor. So, I mean, was she doing too much? Yes, but she accomplished what she wanted to accomplish, which was them playing both clips to pretty much like vindicate herself. And Andy ended up telling her once she sat down, he was like, had already established that, girl, you didn't start the rumors, Meredith. If you would have just sat down, girl, and been quiet. I just feel like at this point, I'm just over Angie and Meredith arguing. Like, you can definitely tell that they don't really like each other, because even at the end, when they talked about like both of their friendships with Mary, the energy that was coming off of both of them was very negative. Like, when Mary was giving like affection towards Angie, Meredith's face was like, and then when at the end, when Mary and Meredith hugged, Angie kind of had this face like, okay, like they don't like each other. But at this point, they both draw out things. Like the whole, you know, you're Jen Shah's backup dancer. That argument on part 1 was too long. This right here with Monica and these rumors, too long. Like, let it go. Both of y'all. Let it go. Let it die. I don't care anymore. Nobody cares. So then we move over to the men. So we have John and Justin. We know John and Justin got into it at Sean and Angie's anniversary. Both of men apologized to each other and basically like, we moving on. They both thought that they were diffusing the situation, but they basically made it worse. And Justin said, you know, his first time he came at Lisa was aggressive, but the second time it was not. He was legit trying to hear what Lisa was saying and wanting to hear her explain why she said that Whitney was a liar. And he was like, yeah, it was worse in my head than what it was. Like, I didn't understand it. But they, like I said, they apologized and they decide that they're going to move on because they both like each other. You then... Honestly, I put Justin's veneers in my nose because his teeth were distracting. I don't know if them veneers, like he got his teeth freshly bleached, but they too white. They look like high beams on a car. They're blinding. I don't like it. Okay, so they then start talking about the whole like Sean circle jerk conversation, and Sean is like, I'm never gonna live this down. I'm so sick of this. Like, he was just like, oh God, like you can tell that Sean is tired. He's tired. He's so tired of people coming for him on this show. And Lisa ends up being like, well, Sean, no, like, here's the thing. I was using it as an analogy to be like, Angie, what if you like someone saying this about your man, trying to get her to relate to me? And Sean was like, well, Lisa, she doesn't need to know what it's like because we already got rumors out there about me, which is true. I think Lisa threw that out there because she wanted to throw a dig at Angie, but also she was pissed that Angie wasn't checking wasn't checking Whitney, and that the conversation about that rumor about her and John doing threesomes was a conversation that Angie and Whitney were having about Lisa. So I just think she wanted to throw a dig at Angie, to be honest. So she apologizes, pretty much being like she doesn't agree with, like, she was like she doesn't believe what she said. She was like, it was just an analogy. I know who you are. So then we see Whitney apologizing to John for bringing up the whole threesome conversation and basically saying, I threw that out there because I wanted to burn what I said about Lisa, because that to me was the most horrible thing I've said about her. So Whitney again apologizes to John and Lisa about what she said. So they then move over to Justin versus Seth. And I put in my notes, both of these men are lame. Both of these men are lame because Justin basically said that he committed not to fighting that day when they were in Palm Springs. He was like, I woke up that morning, I took a deep breath, and I was like, I'm not going to fight with anybody. I'm going to keep it cute and keep it pushing. And so he was like, he wishes he would have responded to Seth when he said what he said to Whitney, calling her a biatch. But he was just kind of like, he didn't. Like, and then Seth, in a roundabout way, apologizes for name calling, but then tried to say, like, that's how I talk. That is not how you talk, Seth. That is not how you talk. And I know for a fact you would not. He was trying to say, well, if I saw John Barlow, I would say the same thing. Like, what up, my biatch? I said, no, you would not. No, you would not. You're such a liar. You're such a liar. And then I felt bad for Whitney because you could tell that, like, she was kind of turned off at the fact that Justin was not getting at Seth. Like, Justin kind of just laughed it off, and I was like, ooh, that's disrespectful. Like, you should have checked Seth for saying that to Whitney. And y'all know I don't even like Whitney, but I was like, that's lame. I said Justin is lame. So then Seth tried to say that, the reason he said what he said was because he was day drinking on Tom's private jet, and then he was like, I had already heard Angie call my wife the B word 2 times. And so then Meredith was like, she called me the B word? She called me the B word? Okay. And well, you're abusive then, Angie, because your husband says using that type of language is abusive. I said, Meredith, let it go. Let it go, Meredith. Todd and Bronwyn, where pretty much Andy ends up asking Todd, how did you feel about what Bronwyn shared on the yacht? Todd is like, I don't know what she shared on the yacht because he didn't watch the episode. And I'm like, so Bronwyn, you didn't share what you shared on that yacht with them people, with him? Oh, this is about to be messy. So Bronwyn ends up saying that, it wasn't what it looked like. Pretty much she starts trying to like backtrack. So Todd basically says anything that Bronwyn shared on that yacht, he probably wasn't going to be comfortable with because he was going to feel like she shared too much. So she tries to say it wasn't an emotional affair. And Heather kind of makes this face like, girl, no, you said that man cheated. You said that man cheated. So then Angie tries to say like, well, she said it was an emotional affair. And I'm like, no, she didn't, Angie. They ran them clips back. She basically said that Todd says one of his flaws is that he's always looking for the next best thing. And it translates into his marriage. So then Heather was one of the main girls that was like, well, does he not understand? Does he not understand that he needs to respect you and that this is your marriage and that's what he signed up for? So Heather was going in because Heather says that Todd and Bronwyn's dynamic reminds her of what she went through with her husband. So she was like, girl, I was championing you just for you to sit up here and try to say that it wasn't an affair. Because then she's like, did he cheat or not? Like, what are we talking about? Like, what's going on? What's happening? What's happening? So it continues with Bronwyn trying to clean it up, being like, well, what I was saying, like, I just wanted to let it be known this didn't happen in real time, you guys. Like, it's not happening now. So then I think this is when Andy ends up asking Todd. Let me see. Is this where in my notes where Andy ends up asking? I asked Todd yet because that scene, Todd was gagged. So they continue again, like, this didn't happen in real time. And she was like, I was trying to make a point about how sometimes I don't feel good enough. And she goes on to say, and that was a moment in my life where I didn't feel good enough. It was a conversation that Todd was having with some woman that I felt like went on too long and I'm just insecure. I said, girl, I would not be doing this much capping for a man that makes me feel small. Girl, you hurt me. You should be making sure I'm okay. Like, what is going on? Like, the way that she was trying to make sure Todd was okay, like he's a 3-year-old. I said, that man cheated on you, sis. Like, their relationship gets such, like, parent and child. It's crazy. So then Lisa gets upset because she was like, so it wasn't that deep of an issue, but yet you came at me and Meredith like biting our heads off. It was you, and you had a conversation about us two being cheaters and like being okay with Todd's infidelity because we cheated. So they flash back to that conversation. And so then what's her name? Meredith jumps in and she's like, yeah, you were going in on us and I was on the yacht trying to be kind and help you out. And here you are saying that this situation isn't that big of a deal. And so now Bronwyn has to kind of like eat crow and like walk it back. And I said, that's why you just don't lie. Like, I totally believe that that man cheated on her, especially when it came to the promises portion of the segment where it's like, you know, I told y'all Todd bought me a $5 million ring or 5-carat ring where he made 5 promises to me. So then Todd says the promises, stuttering, where it was like support, love, fidelity, transparency, and to protect Gwen. Why would you need to reaffirm promises like fidelity? Isn't that something that you agree to when you get married? I said, girl, that man cheated. He just outed himself. The fact that Todd didn't even say like, no, I haven't cheated on my wife, let me know that nigga cheated on you. It lets me know he cheated on you, ma'am. So then Lisa again is like, girl, y'all accused us of having affairs. And now all of a sudden, that's not what happened. Okay, sis. Okay. So the girls are just like looking at Bronwyn. Now Bronwyn, you could tell, feels uncomfortable. And I said, that's the demon of people pleasing. Because if she wasn't trying to make sure that Todd was cool or wasn't trying to appeal to these women on that yacht, this would not be a situation. Because Bronwyn was trying to get the ladies to like be on her side and all of this stuff. Like, and now all of a sudden you are trying to walk it back because your man is mad. Girl, you're stupid. You're stupid. Stupid. So then they keep going on. And this is where Todd gets gagged because Andy ends up asking Todd, well, how did you feel when Bronwyn let it be known that Gwen was the one that caught you cheating? When I tell you that man's brows went down and he was like, and then he did this. I said, oh, girl, you didn't tell him that. Out of that whole entire conversation, that is something you should have told that man. So now Bronwyn is like, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. I said, he tried his best not to have a meltdown. I said, girl, why would you not tell him that? Bronwyn, why would you send that man to battle with nothing? Like, you got him on this stage trying to play Captain Save-A-Ho, having him go off on Lisa about that whole miscarriage storyline, but you didn't tell him about you telling the ladies about him cheating on you and that your daughter is the one that caught him? Hey, and we start talking about Lisa and Angie, where Andy ends up being like, well, Lisa, oh no, I think Angie, how did you feel about what you said about Lisa saying you know more about Bronwyn than Lisa? And Angie says she felt bad about that conversation, especially when she saw Lisa getting upset about it. And Mary ends up saying, well, the reason, that's why Bronwyn's a fan favorite, because she has shared so much. Because Angie ends up being like, I was just saying that she was so open and honest about her relationship, and I don't know that much about Lisa's relationship. So then Lisa was like, girl, and they start arguing back and forth. Andy has to do Opa and Bezos. You got Angie going Opa and Lisa going Bezos. And then it ends with Angie saying, the people that care about me know me. And I was like, Lisa cares about you, Angie, or she wouldn't be arguing with you. I don't think we've ever seen Lisa really like fight for a relationship, even when she wasn't like, you know, cool with Meredith. I think she really wants to be cool with Angie again. They talk about Seth and Meredith's relationship. I don't care. Somebody asked a question about, does Seth have a side chick in Ohio? Why would he answer that on camera? He ends up saying it's his hands that are his side chicks, and we move on from that. Honestly, I don't care about what Seth and Meredith got going on, and I don't think anybody else truly cares about it. Even if he was cheating, I don't think everybody be like, oh my God. I don't know. Last segment was about Mary and Robert Jr. So we find out that Robert Jr. is doing pretty well. He was the one that wanted to be checked into rehab. He basically was crying out to his mom for help. He was trying to figure out, does he have an addiction or does he just have a problem? I feel like that's two of the same things, but I guess an addiction is a lot worse. She says, you know, she wanted to talk to him, and she told him before they had that sit down that they just were going to talk and him to be honest. She didn't expect all of that information to come out of his mouth. She was very much shocked about him sharing that he was doing, you know, explicit substances. because she was just like, it scared her that she lives in the house with him but didn't know what was going on with him. And I said, girl, the Nile is a river in Egypt. Your husband is gay. Because you can't tell me you ain't know your child was on drugs. You can't tell me you ain't know your child was doing something he ain't had no business doing when he brought that white girl to that house and was saying that she was his wife. And you didn't know he was married. You can't tell me you ain't know what was wrong with your son married. You may not have known the extent, but you knew something was up. So he's doing better. He had to drop all of his friends once he got out of rehab, which is what they normally recommend. We also find out that he does have some friends from AA classes that he attends, but unfortunately he is a homebody now because he now has to try to make new friends. Andy starts crying when they start talking about the statement that Robert Jr. made about him feeling like he was a stain. That's when I started tearing up, because I don't think I've ever seen Andy cry. And normally when people's voices crack while they're talking, that's when I get choked up. So his voice cracked and I said, oh, I'm not going to do it. I said, And everybody on that stage was crying except Meredith. Bronwyn even gave Mary some very kind words, but you could tell that she was fighting back tears. Whitney was trying not to have a full-on breakdown, and she was like, I said, oh my gosh. And I wanted, as much as I do not see it for Whitney, I wanted Heather to get up and hug her. I said, the girl need a hug. Somebody go over there and hug her. Just rock the lady, because she was trying. She was shifting in that seat. She was trying to look for it. She was not trying to look at Mary. She was not trying to look at Andy. Lisa was over there crying. Heather was crying. Meredith's the only one trying to be stoic and not make any emotions. And I'm like, girl, as hysterical you just was, you can't give this now. I said, okay, Meredith. So Angie ends up telling her how great of a job that she did with that conversation that they had in Robert Jr.'s room, which I commend Mary, because she did say everything that needed to be said. We also find out that it bothered her, like it really hurt her, the fact that he said something like that, like he felt like a stain, when she was like, I've done almost everything to make sure that he's had the best upbringing. Like, she moved out of Utah for 8 years and took him to New York so he could be at a great school and be surrounded by a community that looks like him, because she didn't want him to have the same experience she had by being the only one, and I know that experience. And so she just was like, I don't know. Like, she was just at a loss for words, where she pretty much says she blames herself. They were trying to tell her not to, but I'm like, there is some type of ownership that Mary has to take, because how did he get this way? Something had to have happened. The conversation continues where Andy ends up commending Robert Jr. for being so eloquent, even though you could tell he was in an inebriated state, where he was just like, for him to come up with that metaphor, that analogy about life being like unseasoned chicken, but when he takes those substances, it feels seasoned. And Lisa was like, no, that was an amazing analogy. He was like, Mary, you're a great mom. Like, you are a great mom. She even like commended Mary when we found out that Robert Sr. said that he was proud of Mary, that she was a great mom, that he loved her, and that she was so strong. And she's never heard him say like he was proud of her before. And I was like, girl. And she said he doesn't say things he doesn't mean. And what I thought was really interesting about this scene was we all know about the beef that happened between Lisa and Mary off camera. But for Lisa to tell Mary that she was a good mom and to get emotional lets me know that the monster that people think Lisa is, she's not. Because I feel like if she was as self-centered, as vindictive, as narcissistic as people like to say, I don't think she would have gave those types of emotions for Mary. And I think she genuinely meant what she said when she told Mary she was a great mom. And you could tell that Mary appreciated what she said. I just feel like Lisa just got to work on herself. Because this is the thing. That's why I like Lisa. Lisa has been Lisa since episode 1 of season 1. I've seen slight moments in her where she's somewhat evolved a little bit, but it's a slow progression. But I like the fact that Lisa is Lisa no matter what. And I don't think she's as horrible as everyone likes to make her seem. She's an unevolved Sagittarius. But I do feel like what she said to Mary shows that she's not as mean or as callous as people like to make her seem. So they end up asking Whitney, is she okay? Because she breaking down. I forgot that the way that we were introduced to Whitney is that her father's addiction issues. We find out that she ain't talked to that man since season 1. And I said, dang. And I said, no wonder this hit hard for you. She also goes on to say that, you know, seeing that scene of Robert with Mary gave her an opportunity to show her kids this is what their grandfather is going through and why they don't have a grandfather. Heather even said that her and her kids watched the scene and it opened up conversations between her and her girls that she never thought she could have with them. And she appreciated that and commended Mary for that. We also find out that Mary gave Angie some encouraging words about her situation with her mom, where she was just like, you know, Angie says, like, my mom passed away when I was 6, and I always felt like if I had the opportunity, I could have helped her because I'm a very persistent person if I was older. And Mary ended up telling Angie, I bet you if she had the opportunity to do it all over again, she would. And that really resonated with Angie. And that was a sweet moment because everybody was kind of tired of crying. And they started talking about Mary being active this season. Mary pretty much says the reason why she was active is because she had a solid friend, i.e. Angie. And you could tell that kind of bothered Meredith. And Mary was just like, you know, I felt comfortable pretty much this season. Andy says, I'm not trying to be messy here, but I thought you and Meredith had a great friendship. And Mary's like, no, she is my friend. It's just our friendship is different. And she's like, you know, Meredith is always on the go, 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 whereas Angie lives in Utah. And she was like, I love Meredith. She was like, the text message that Meredith sent me, that really resonated with me. I started crying, and we found out that Meredith has like a nephew that also has the same issues as Robert Jr. So then a viewer's question ends up asking about the jealousy that they see between Meredith and like the relationship that Mary and Angie have. And so Meredith is like, she's not jealous. They were like, maybe you kind of are. She says, no, the breakdown in their relationship happened at the Breakfast at Tiffany's dinner, mainly because she felt attacked. And she said, I didn't know what Mary was going through. So it was like two things just came ahead. So the person was like, was it because of them bangs that Mary was upset? And everyone laughed about it. And Meredith said, I'd rather you make fun of my bangs than make fun of me. I've been called all types of names: bulimic, psychotic, you know, desperate, a liar, a snake, a rat, all of these things. And everyone's like, Meredith. And they're like, well, you have also said some crazy things about other people too. And they show flashback scenes of how Meredith be talking about people when she don't like them. So it's like, you can't be this dramatic and up in arms about people talking negatively about you when you do the same thing, Meredith. So it continues where they were like, well, why did you say that you felt used by Mary for the past 3 years? And Meredith was like, she doesn't believe that she was used by Mary, but she felt like in that moment that she was disposable. And that's why she said what she said. Mary ends up saying like, girl, I need you to walk that back because I feel like that's attacking my character. And she was like, no, Meredith's like, I don't believe you used me. But she was just like, in that moment, she just felt disposable, which is understandable in the sense of like, it's funny because Mary and Meredith kind of had a rift during season 4 because Mary didn't like Angie. And Meredith and Angie kind of had like, were growing a relationship, and then Monica came in there and it flipped this on its head pretty much. And now we're here at this season where Meredith does seem pressed by the friendship that Angie and Mary has. That's crazy. So Andy ends up asking Meredith, like, where do you see your friendship now with Mary? She was like, I feel like we're moving in a positive direction. So then Mary ends up telling Meredith to get up so they can have a hug. They actually hug each other. And she tells Angie, you need to make it right with her because I love her. Angie's face was very much so like, that's why we're here. Okay. It's funny because they both don't like each other, but they both like Mary and want to be cool with Mary. It's crazy to me. But that's how the episode ended. That is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below. Share your thoughts with me, as well as like and subscribe. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.